We are recording. This is Quiet in the Back.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up.
In the back.
Yeah, you.
We're watching a movie here.
Watching a movie here.
I am your host, Patrick William.
I am also a host, Austin Jenny.
We both co-host this podcast, Quiet in the Back.
Yeah, shut up.
So shut up already. The episode is starting.
Dude, that was a fucking movie.
I want to get this out of the way before we even talk about this movie.
Okay.
I made a comment a few episodes ago. We were talking about ratings, and we were withholding the 10s.
Yeah.
Because you just never know like what movie's going to come by and shatter your life wide open and be a 10.
Yeah.
And I think we just watched 2 back-to-back 10s.
No. Like, what are the chances of that? I mean, we really picked these randomly, too. Ordered them randomly. It was all very just coincidental.
Yes.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, our last episode, was a beautiful 10.
We both loved it to death. And then we just watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and I'm giving it a 10.
Yeah, it's a 10. It's an easy, perfect movie. There's no
notes.
No notes.
It's really a no notes.
That's it. Podcast over.
We're out of here. No, actually, there are notes, but they're all good. They're just deep and moving and inspirational, and they make you think about the totality of your life, your childhood core memories, your concepts of love and self-acceptance. And it's just one of those movies, and it's not even like the movie. It's more the story, the ideas contained within the story.
Yeah. I mean, not even very much happens. The plot is like, we're going to be able to describe the plot very quickly.
Yeah, we can get through the plot pretty fast. There's details that are worth diving into.
Of course.
But it's just, when I think about Everything Everywhere All at Once and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, both being 10s, and having seen them so close to each other, what I'm realizing is like the thread for me is the emotional connection to the material. Yeah. What it makes you feel and how it makes you feel about the totality of your human experience.
Yeah, literally all of your existence. Yes. Both of these movies just make you question everything, who you are as a person and your entire life experience and perspective. And that's awesome. And
they have a way of taking like what might be considered a jaded or like hardened adult brain, the sort of day in, day out, business-minded, like adult that we all sort of become at times in our lives. It has a way of like shattering that and then making you into like an emotional empath person again, and like makes you want to cry, and it makes you want to call your mom and tell her you love her, and like all these things is like, it really just is moving in that way. And for me, that's like what I think builds towards a 10.
Yeah.
On top of that, incredible acting from the actors, incredible directing, the careful camera movements tied with the editing.
Oh.
The editing and camera work together creates this like haunting and spooky ability for the director to like make a scene circle in on itself.
Very easily. I mean, the amount of times we saw like the same thing but so slightly different is so interesting.
They're moving one way through a room, and then the character looks back, and the character they were just following is coming in through the door behind them, and they keep pivoting, and the camera work is like moving from very precise spot to precise spot, and they're using the motion blur of the fast whip to like cut during that whip into a new scene. Yeah. Just technically flawless.
I actually can't begin to imagine how they did it. Like, my knowledge does not extend to how they could have possibly done almost everything in this movie.
The editing on some of those scenes where like they're deleting the memories and bookcases are disappearing behind them, lights are turning off in the scene,
fences are sinking into the ground,
human beings are just disappearing from the train station.
Yeah.
Book titles are just vanishing, and the books are just turning all white. The pages have no text on them.
And somehow it doesn't feel like out of place because it just makes sense that this is happening within the context of his dreams. And
it's never overdone. They never abuse the graphics. If there's any CGI, it's extremely tasteful. Maybe on the house at the end.
Yeah.
But it's like super nuanced and subtle use of visual effects.
Yeah, I would be hard, we didn't do research, unfortunately, as far as like awards go and that sort of thing, but how did this not win everything?
Right.
like I truly don't understand.
I think the year was 2005, if I remember correctly.
A lot of good movies coming out then.
But I guess let's get into what this movie is, now that we've expressed how amazing it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen this, don't watch us right now.
Right, this is full of spoilers, and you need to turn it off and go watch the movie and come back.
Yes.
Seriously,
100%. You are going to ruin a beautiful movie.
We're gonna give you 5 seconds
to
turn this off before we continue to spoil this movie for you. 5, 4,
I already counted
3. It's happening.
Quiet in the back.
Shut up. Okay, the movie starts with a depressive man on a train platform getting ready to go to work.
Yeah, it's dreary outside.
The entire Valentine's Day.
Yeah, like the entirety of the world around him is pretty gray and bleak.
Yep, and he's talking about how Valentine's Day is a bullshit holiday made by corporations to make you feel bad about yourself.
Yep, Hallmark fuckers.
Just super classic, like, emo mentality. He's just like, I can't even look a woman in the eyes. And he gets a random, sort of spontaneous urge to call out sick from work. He runs away from his train.
Yeah.
And he gets on a different train going the other direction to Montauk. And it's just like spur of the moment, emotional decision.
Very impulsive, which we'll come to see is not him either.
Yeah, that's true. And in Montauk, he meets a woman, or he like sees the woman.
Yeah.
And they catch each other's eyes a few times throughout the day, but then they actually meet on the train back from Montauk. And she approaches him. She's got so much more like extroverted confidence than he does.
Just charismatic and confident. Yeah, absolutely.
She is named Clementine, and they have a whole thing about her name, which I think is valuable. They sing, she's like, no jokes about the name, and then he's like, I don't know what you mean. And she sings the song like, oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine. And there's a lyric in there, you were lost and gone forever. Which is obvious foreshadowing to this movie.
Yes, it is, which you don't really realize.
Yeah. So she's lost and gone forever. And then he says that he actually quite likes her name because the root of the word is from clemency. So it's a name for forgiving people. It's a forgiving name based on merciful. Well, yeah. Which is also foreshadowing and important at the end of the movie.
Yeah, man.
It's big stuff. Like
it really
just
is.
All in a name. You know, there's media where characters are named things that are like meaningful, but they're stupidly shallow.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like a lot of the Harry Potter books are that way, where like J.K. Rowling will just like take an English word or a Latin word and then they'll just like change the letters on the end, and it's like, now you are like Wingardium means fly. It's just like that level of naming.
Yeah, just like literally based on what that word is.
But I feel like the Clementine name in this movie is just like the correct way of using the naming technique to like indicate something about the character.
Yeah, it's not like at all giving anything away though, really.
Not at the beginning, and it's just like potent by the end when you look back. You're like, yeah, she should be named Clementine. Like, it just works. So I liked that. They sort of flirt on the train.
Yeah.
She flirts more than him.
Yeah, he's pretty awkward. He's like, he's definitely like his body language in the seat. Like she like gets close to him. He's like,
and she's like leaning in.
Yeah, it is.
She has dyed blue hair and a bright orange sweater. He's wearing essentially all gray or black.
Yeah.
Wool like jacket and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's just apparent right from the start that their personalities are just opposites.
Right.
You know.
Introvert, extrovert.
Yeah.
And they talk throughout the train ride. He gives her a ride home from the train station because she was walking and it's cold outside. And then she invites him into her apartment.
Yeah.
And makes him drinks. And she's like, it just makes the seduction process so much easier, don't you think? And he's so awkward.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm just kidding. But you can tell she's not.
Yeah, like not at all.
She's like she's putting her head on his shoulder, like putting her fingers in between his fingers. Like she's so familiar.
Super intimate, familiar. Like you have to be like comfortable with someone to let them just.
They've known each other for like 3 hours.
Yeah, literally. And then she even says, I'm going to marry you.
Yeah. And then she gives him. He's like, okay, he gets a little bit like it's gone too far. And he's like, I got to go. And she's like, fine, but I'm going to give you my phone number. Please call me. I would really like it if you call me.
I would really like it.
She's like, seriously, if you would call me, I would really like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And he gets home and immediately calls her. It's been maybe, I don't know, you assume 20 minutes, something like that.
That's what took you so long.
She's like, what? You finally called. He's like, I just got home. She's like, so I forget what she asked him.
She's like,
but
did you miss me?
And he says, yeah, I do miss you. I do. And she's like, you said I do. That means we're married. He's like, yeah, I guess we are. And so like their relationship goes from meeting as perfect strangers to flirting and seducing and joking about getting married like within a few hours.
It reminded me of True Romance in that sense.
Yes.
It was just like
rapidly accelerating love.
Yeah. But obviously that is not the case at all. It's very different. But yes.
The very next big movement of the movie, we cut to a new scene of Joel in his car just crying.
Yeah. Yeah, really just kind of weeping.
Yeah. And there's like
driving and weeping.
Essentially that whole first fall in love scene is like the prologue of the movie.
Oh yeah, credits even hit too.
You get credits, you get a song sequence, and then you get cut to crying in the car. He's sobbing.
Yeah. Like really like a very full cry, you know.
And you can tell some time has passed because obviously this is a new scene and the emotion just changed, but the movie does not explain to you at all like what's happening really.
No.
You have to pick it up as you go. You don't know if it's been a week, a year.
At all. You have no time reference.
And slowly over this next sort of couple of scenes, you get a panicking Joel going to his friends.
Yeah.
Looking for help, emotional help.
Yeah.
Because
like clearly him and Clemency's like mutual friends too. They'd spent time together within this last unknown amount of time.
And what you start to learn is it's now a few days before Valentine's Day.
Yes.
So that means it's been 363 days or so since the last scene.
Yeah.
And Clementine has basically like stopped answering his calls. She's gone off the map. He hasn't seen her. He's freaking out. He's like buying her a last minute Valentine's Day gift and trying to find her to like smooth things over.
Yeah. From some big fight. Yeah. Still don't even see that fight yet for a while.
Yeah, you haven't seen anything. It's just from his perspective. It's just like him sort of panicking, and he's explaining to his friends in their living room that he went to the bookshop where she works to try to like go find her, and she acted like she didn't know him. Like she literally never met him before.
Yeah, man, that was a rough scene.
You just feel for this guy. It's so psychologically like damaging.
It really is, yeah. I mean, and like on even a more real note, like I don't know, I've been treated like that before,
like ignored,
fully just like not acknowledged as like any sort of relationship that I'd ever had with that person, and it is just so weird.
Yeah, it's so messed up.
It's just such a gross feeling. It's just like and it just immediately is like insecurity, you know, in the broadest definition of the word.
Yeah.
But yeah, she treats him like that. Like he goes up and he's just nice at first, right?
He just says her name.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, "Can I help you?" Like as an employee would say.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, flabbergasted. He doesn't even follow up with anything. He's like, he can't believe that she's pretending not to know him, and he just gives her this look like of grief and puzzlement.
Yeah.
And she's just like, "Can I help you, sir?" And you get like a brief. He mentions that she has a new boyfriend, like a younger guy, and you get like a brief half look at him from behind the computer screen, but they purposely obscure his full face.
Yeah, you barely see anything.
But his name is Patrick. I hate that they made this guy.
Oh, he's the worst. Patrick. He's such a skeevy guy. God, I hate him.
Yeah, he's the worst. The movie cuts back to the living room with the friends because this was sort of a cutaway scene. He's explaining this to his friends, and they have various half-baked ideas of how he should just move on, etc. But then finally, like, the male friend is like, "No, this is stupid," and he pulls out of his drawer, and it's a little contentious with his wife, and like they start bickering about it and fighting about how he shouldn't share this with him. But he's like, he's an adult, he's not your little kid.
Yeah.
And he shows him this card that they received from a doctor's office.
Yeah.
That says, "Clementine has erased the memory of Joel from her life. Please do not mention their relationship or mention Joel in front of her ever again."
Yeah. Which is insane.
That's insane.
That is insane. That is I kind of knew that was going to happen going into this movie. This is my first viewing. But, like, to go into this movie blind and then find that out, like, I don't even know how I would react. That's so crazy.
This movie has a series of, like, continuously unfolding twists, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. It's always, like, coming in and back on itself, going a little further, coming back, revealing more, going a little further.
Yeah.
Constantly in a giant circle.
It's very cool in that way.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, this is the point in the movie where you realize you're watching a memory wipe movie, a movie with potentially an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
Potentially multiple unreliable character perspectives happening simultaneously, like retelling each other's stories,
creating new stories. Yeah.
So it's one of those. It's kind of, these types of movies are kind of like time travel movies in the sense that, like, you never have a firm grasp on, like, which events caused which or
really the order or anything.
What point in the story you're at.
Yeah. No shit.
So it becomes a ride, and it becomes a ride as a viewer where you're sort of like searching for information and you're grasping onto like anchor points.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think this movie does a fantastic job at making it mysterious but accessible. Like, it always gives you just enough from scene to scene to like keep you on the hook.
Oh, for sure.
And you're never like just lost.
No, it was never like hard to follow.
Right.
You know, you could watch, I mean, yeah, it was easy to follow for sure. But like, that doesn't make it any less impactful, you know?
For sure. The mystery is still compelling.
Yeah.
But it's not like confusing.
Yeah, for sure. Which is crazy that they were able to pull that off too.
It's so hard.
Yeah. God, this is such a labyrinth of like interlaced memories and relationships. Yeah. It's so weird.
So after a scene or two of Joel, you know, grieving and like he can't believe that she would erase him, that type of thing, he decides he's going to erase her.
Yeah.
It's the only way to move forward.
Yeah.
And he goes to the same doctors. It's probably the only clinic that does this, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's all left ambiguous anyways.
Yeah,
they
really never go into it, but the secretary at the office is like super enamored with the doctor, and she's always going on and on about how like his work is so groundbreaking, and she's so proud of what he does, and she's always making it seem like he's like a scientific figurehead, like he invented this technology or something.
Which is like just so crazy that he would have such terrible people working for him.
The staff at this doctor's office leaves a lot to be desired. Very unprofessional people.
Shit, dude. HIPAA laws. Come on.
There are some pretty infuriating yet funny scenes when they finally get to the operation.
Yeah, for sure.
They ask him to they agree to do the last minute operation because he's clearly like freaking out.
Yeah.
and they ask him to bring all of his possessions from his home to the office, anything that would remind him of Clementine.
Anything at all.
Diary entries, pictures, objects, literally all of it. So he's wiping his physical space, and they are cataloging all the items to create like a core memory complex.
Yeah, a map of all of his different memories, essentially.
And they're going to target those memories with their like big head cerebro machine.
Yeah, it is totally a cerebro machine.
There's like electrical nodes, and it's a big metal thing. They
Yeah.
put like an egg-shaped thing.
Yeah.
And they're going to come to his place at night. They're going to map it out in the doctor's office, but they come do the operation in your apartment so that when you wake up, you're in your comfort space. And
yeah, and then you don't have any memory of ever even going there.
yeah, they erase themselves too.
Yeah, which is probably good considering them.
Who they are.
Oh.
Let's get into this doctor's office dynamic.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's about to play out.
This doctor's office is fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
From like, I don't even, an operational standpoint, how could this be legal?
Right.
You know? And then just the actual scumbag people who are.
Yeah. It's the interpersonal dynamics of the staff that are really fucked up. So the tech guy who's the main tech doing the operation.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo.
Is played by Mark Ruffalo. The cast of this movie is incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
The three employees are Mark Ruffalo, Elijah Wood, and Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah,
so
that's ridiculous.
Really strong.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got Jim Carrey as our lead. And, who was the female lead?
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet, who's great in this movie. I feel like there might even be a few other people that pop up. Oh, David Cross is the friend.
Yeah, definitely.
I just saw David Cross live like 2 weeks ago. He crushed it.
I met him in the street.
Incredible. I also saw him that same night crossing the street, and I didn't yell.
You should have yelled.
You're welcome, David. I actually wanted to yell out the window, like, I love you, David. What's up? Just make him feel like a superstar in Missoula. But Kaylin was like, no, you're going to freak him out. He wants to be alone. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's probably true.
I controlled myself and did not yell at David Cross on the street. Austin had the pleasure of meeting him outside of Stocks.
Let's go.
But I saw him crush his set here in Missoula, so
fuck yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out. The boy.
Anyways, the tech in this scene is played by Mark Ruffalo. His assistant is
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood.
Yes. And I feel like we've seen him already once at this point. Not just...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of a trippy moment.
Super trippy.
At the end of the prologue, before we get to the sobbing, he's parked in front of Clementine's house.
Yeah.
She's going in for like...
Get her toothbrush and shit.
Yeah. And then Elijah Wood's character, Patrick, hint, he comes and knocks on the window while he's out there. He's like, can I help you?
Yeah. It's so confusing.
And the guy, Joel, is like, no. He's like, what? I'm confused. What do you mean?
Like, what are you doing here?
He's like, is there anything I can do for you? And he's like, no. And rolls his window up. And then it fades to black and cuts to the sobbing.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it kind of gives you, it made me at first think like, oh, has she had a boyfriend this whole time? It was very confusing in the beginning.
It makes total sense by the time you get to the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But it's your first hint that like things are out of order.
Yes, for sure. But yeah, so Mark Ruffalo and Elijah Wood, the two techs, are at his house, right? And they start beginning to go through his memories and pick them off with their little crazy machine. And
they start in manual mode. They're like targeting each memory, but like once it gets going and they've got everything cataloged, they can like set it to autopilot.
Yeah, it's kind of supposed to travel down
through each memory. And the scenes keep cutting between the real like world in the apartment with these two techs doing the operation, and then the mental world that's taking place within Joel's brain as he's sleeping. He's like barely sleeping. It's more like a fugue state or something.
Yeah, or like a forced coma sort of situation.
Right.
Yeah.
His mind is very active. It's like a suspended dream situation. And he keeps reliving his memories. And at first, they're the bad ones.
Yeah.
They're all the ones where they're fighting.
The first one is their last fight.
Their last fight, the breakup. And then they keep going through all these different fights. And they're like such good, believable relationship fight scenes.
It's crazy. Like, if you have been in a long-term relationship at all, you'll relate.
You've had these moments where, like,
it's just, that's human.
Yes, you love each other, but there's like these tension points, and you at some point you're gonna blow up at each other, start crying, fighting. It's gonna get a little too heated. Like, these things happen.
Definitely.
And these are the things they start erasing. And he's like, in his dream, he's like yelling at her. He's like, I'm erasing you.
Yeah.
Hope you're happy.
Yeah, I wrote on my notes, it's like, it went from sad to spite in that moment, because he was so messed up, and then he starts immediately reliving these negative memories, and he's just so spiteful, and even says he hates her at one point, you know?
This movie's really cool in the way that it runs through these stages of grief throughout the dream sequences, but then also just like it runs the gamut of human emotions. So like throughout this process, he keeps going to different places in his brain to try to escape the memory deleting machine. And he's like hiding in his shame. And in the humiliation. And
thought that was so interesting.
He's going for childhood innocence. And
just things that are not anywhere close to his actual surface mind currently as an adult.
Right. Because I guess we should say what happens in this in the early section of the memory deleting scenes is he realizes that he doesn't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, he fucking still absolutely loves her. It was just a moment of, confusion and rage and sadness all at once.
And he is regretting the decision to do the memory deleting, but he's already in the process.
Yeah.
And he's trying to essentially like hide memories of her from the machine in different, like take the real memories and like put them into places where she doesn't belong, where she never was.
I mean, like even to the point of where he's maybe not literally, but in the moment he's recreating his old memories, like with her as parts of it. It's so crazy.
Okay, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. These techs are scumbags.
Fucking goons, dude.
They are talking. They're drinking beer while doing this like electronic operation on their guy.
It's a crazy intense medical procedure.
At one point, like the secretary comes over and she's dating the main tech, and they're smoking weed. They're like playing music and jumping on the bed,
laying on either side of him, like
in his bed,
food on top of him.
Yeah, she's like making food from his fridge. They're like dancing in their underwear. I think
they have sex.
They have sex and they're cuddling on the chair while the whole thing's on autopilot. So like these are extremely unprofessional people taking advantage of a grieving customer.
Yeah.
And taking it super lightly of like what they're doing.
And we also learn who Patrick is.
Yeah. So the tech, Patrick.
Yeah. The tech's assistant even.
Yeah. He is, of course, I'm sure you've put it together because we told you to go watch the movie.
Yeah. You watched the whole movie, right?
He is dating her. So he's the guy at the bookstore that you don't get a good view of his face. They erased her memory like earlier in the week, and he starts dating her like the next day.
Dude.
And he took all of her memories and he takes all of Joel's memory objects and he uses them to like recreate experiences that he knows she will connect with.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's just literally using their past relationship as like a starting off point. Like, look, babe, this is how much I know you. I know that you'll love this. I know that you love this jewelry. Dude, I mean, that's like essentially...
It's like identity theft.
Well, that, but also to her, it's like almost like a form of consistent date rape. Like...
Yeah. I mean, it's like mental. It's like a psychological rape.
Yeah, seriously.
It's mind rape.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Oh, I hated him so much, man. But he really, really
keeps
Mark
Ruffalo and Elijah Wood's characters, they keep talking about the things that they're saying in the room keep seeping in through his ears into his subconscious, and he's like hearing these conversations during his dream state, and Joel is picking up on the fact that like, okay, the Patrick guy's in the room. Yeah. Because Mark Ruffalo keeps saying the name. He's like, Patrick. And the writer was very intentional, and the director, that like, he says his name so many times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that it has a chance to sink in. But he lets it slip that he's dating Clementine, and then he calls her on the phone, and her voice seeps into the subconscious.
Yeah.
And Joel realizes that not only does he not want to lose her, she's being taken advantage of by this creep Patrick, and he feels like this serious need to like break free of this process to like fix the situation.
Yeah, it only makes his like ability to evade their system stronger.
Yeah, they mention it later. It's like because they ultimately have to call the main doctor in for help because the autopilot fails. They're super stoned, can't figure out what's happening because Joel is like hiding in the wrong memories.
Yeah,
and he mentions like it's like he's developed some sort of resistance to the techniques. So he's like developing these mental antibodies to having his mind erased.
Yeah,
which is very cool.
So yeah, the doctor's there. He shows up to like help fix the situation, and they like quickly clean up all of the fucking horrible violations that they just did, you know, the drinking and smoking and all that shit.
They're hiding all the evidence, all the food and snacks.
Yeah. He shows up and he's like confused why the assistant's there. Like he definitely does not want that. But yeah, they get him on the case and they inject him, right?
He gets him back on the right track, and then Joel's eyes open.
Yeah.
And he's like, that shouldn't be happening. And they give him a sedative to like force him back into the coma. So he's going to have to ride out the rest of the night in memory world.
Yeah.
The doctor is left alone at one point with the assistant.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo goes outside to get some air.
And it's a very awkward scene where the assistant is like coming on to him.
Yeah, really hard.
And ultimately like forces a kiss, like kisses him on the lips out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And he has this whole thing about how, like, I'm a married man, we can't do this. But then he sort of, like, sits down with her, he's consoling her, and then continues to kiss her anyways.
Yeah.
So they're like, he's, like, saying we can't do this while doing it.
Yeah, right, douchebags. Fucking.
His wife pulls up in the street in her bathrobe and pajamas. Because this is the middle of the night. They called him over as an emergency.
Yeah.
She sees through the window, he's kissing this young blonde girl.
Yep.
And they come out to explain. He's like, it's a one-time mistake.
Yeah.
And she's like, I swear I'm just a dumb girl. I made him do it. And the wife says, what?
She says, you do like what? You did it again?
She says, don't be a monster, Howard.
Yeah.
Tell her. And drives away. She says, you can have him, honey. You already did.
Yeah.
This is where you realize that he has erased her memory, and they've already had a relationship where he cheated on his wife with her.
Like, how many times do you think? Do you think it's only once?
Well, they only allude to one time.
Okay, yeah.
But the nature of this movie is that it's
cyclical.
It's sketchy. It's like there's a customer in the office early in the scene where they're like, no, ma'am, we cannot do this 3 times in 1 month.
That's so fucking insane.
So some people are out here double dipping, trying to triple dip for sure.
Yeah. Jeez, man.
The system is being abused by the doctor. He's cheating on his wife and erasing his secretary's memory of it.
I know. That just brings up so many questions too. Like, how do we know he didn't erase his wife's memory a couple times? How many times? Who everywhere is getting this done?
Mark Ruffalo's character says that he swears he didn't know. He had no idea, but like, was his memory erased?
Exactly.
Like whoever's in charge of this technology sneaking into your house and like brain frying you
and eating your food and drinking your alcohol and
having
fucking
sex on your easy chair.
Yeah. What the fuck, dude?
But yeah, so that's these people.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Joel is going through like all of his childhood memories.
Yeah,
and he's like, it's very cool because in his dream, everyone is a form of his own subconscious.
Yeah.
And so he's talking to Clementine, and she's saying to him, she's giving him ideas of like what to do.
Yeah, but
of course it's him.
Yeah.
Holding on to a memory of her, but he's like taking her to a childhood memory where he's 4 years old and he's under the table.
Yeah, he just wants his mommy to pick him up.
And she's an adult. She's his mom's friend in the scene. And there's really cool like perspective work going on where Jim Carrey's like over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, but they must. So do you think they actually shrunk him?
No, I think it's
like a big set.
I think there's a combination of 3 or 4 shots happening that they're editing together, but one of them for sure is just a perspective shift where he's far away on a set. And she's close to the camera. This is what they did in Lord of the Rings to make the hobbits small.
Oh, that's crazy.
They just filmed the hobbits closer to the camera with a long lens, and then Ian McKellen's just like 18 feet
just
away.
Huge.
And they made the set proportionally scale.
Oh.
Right? So like
that's super cool.
You're just filming and they're sitting across the table from each other, right? But like there's like all this depth distance between them, but they're looking at each other across like this. That's how those scenes are filmed. It's all practical.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's just the magic of perspective. They're doing some of that in the scene to make Jim Carrey appear very small.
He's so small.
He's like this tall.
Yeah.
But then I think there's also a combination of like green screening going on.
Yeah.
And maybe like, I think it's called rotoscoping, where you like manually like draw in effects.
Oh.
So I feel like there's some stuff going on with that, especially in scenes where like people are disappearing from the train station and the books are turning white.
Yeah,
that's all hand done, like CGI essentially.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
I bet that took so long.
So tedious, but so worth the
so
effort.
worth it though. I mean, 10, baby, 10.
It's a 10.
It's a 10.
You're getting this series of like very emotional scenes of a man trying to hold on to the woman he loves, and she is being ripped from him like over and over, and he keeps like re-grasping her in a new memory, and bringing her to a different memory, and they're in love, but they have all this loss and regret. It's so powerful and like emotional.
It really is. It's like hard to put into words like how it makes you feel at the time, you know?
And the music in this movie is so perfect, and it's like such a well soundtracked film that it just like draws these emotions right to the surface. Yeah. And then the movie is just like hitting them.
Really smacking them, dude.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Ultimately, I think where he ends up in his dream scenario, sort of towards the end, is there was this house that they had seen when they were together in Montauk.
Yeah, on the beach.
And they joked about how that would one day be their home. It's like their dream home, and they're going to live there. And he starts recreating different versions of their core memories together. Yeah. So, like, for example, when they first meet, they're on a train, and she's saying, "My name's Clementine, but don't make any jokes about it." And then he's recreating a memory by this house on the beach, and they first meet, and she's like, "My name's Clementine." He's like, "Don't worry, I won't make any jokes about it." Yeah. So he's like inverting all of these details, but he's creating the same basic memories. Yeah. As a way of like infiltrating them, like past the memory deleting machine.
Yeah, he wants them to like lay in his subconscious after this is over, no matter what.
It's really crazy.
So cool. What an insane idea too. Just even think of that.
And they're breaking into this house in his memory, and talking about building a life together, and they're drinking whiskey, and the house is like falling apart around them.
Crumbling like literal piece by piece. It's such a cool shot.
There's like really cool use of lights and like spotlights in this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. Some of the weird ass scenes, dude, where they're like just following him closely with a spotlight. Yeah. He's like pulling her through, and he's like walking through old memories. He'll like bump into himself.
The light is obviously like his consciousness. Yeah. And the darkness is the fading of his memories. And he's like pulling her through these dark scenes, and she's coming in and out of the light, and the light's always on him, so he's like trying to keep it with her. Really innovative filmmaking choices.
Insane. How do you think of that?
Yeah, like when they're at the house and he's on the steps still trying to come in, she goes in the house and it's dark in there, and the camera's looking out towards the ocean in the background, and it's like you can barely see the ocean, you can barely see anything. It's just like a circle of light on him. Yeah. It's just so cool from like a photography standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't I can't imagine how you begin to approach building a movie out like that.
It's
like, when do you make those decisions?
It's a really artistic, tasteful film in terms of the visual effects. Like kind of opposite of Everything Everywhere All at Once, where like those effects were also incredible.
Amazing.
This is not, when I say this, it's not a critique of that. They're just different. But like those effects were like in your face, explosive, like big moments.
For sure.
Colorful.
Yeah.
Very trippy and cool, but like the effects were the point in some of those scenes.
Absolutely.
In this movie, the effects are fading into the background of the scene.
They're only there to serve the raw emotion of the movie.
Yeah,
like it's not
very subtle.
Yeah, it's not like supposed to. You're not supposed to be wowed by any of these effects. You know, you can be impressed by them of their technical awesomeness and that sort of thing. But like they don't ever steal the show.
Kaylin mentioned that it kind of gives you the feeling of like an acid trip where things seem normal mostly, but then like something's not right.
Yeah,
and it's like what's different, like what, and your brain can never latch on to like what's shifting, because the scenes in the memory dream world, they're always subtly shifting
in such crazy ways too.
It's so trippy.
It is, absolutely, but it still feels, as she said, natural.
It's grounded.
Yeah,
in emotion and real scenes. It's like very.
It feels like what like exploring a memory in that state would be like, you know.
So, let's talk about the twist at the end, and then we can talk about ideas connected to this story.
Yeah, for sure.
We wake up the next morning.
Yeah.
Procedure's done.
Yeah.
The secretary character is distraught. She's just found out she's already had a relationship with this guy and been erased. So she goes back to the office and gets everyone's files. And she says it's everyone, like every patient.
Yeah. And
she mails or drops off at their houses. It's not clear how it gets there, but it's very fast. It's a fast turnaround.
Yeah, it's not even like that important. So
but it's like documents, it's audio tapes of the patients like discussing each other.
Each patient, like when you first go in, you have to describe that person.
Yeah.
Right? And then essentially probably agree to do the procedure or whatever.
Right.
But yeah. So she sends them to everybody.
What happens is you, as a viewer, you start seeing the same scenes you saw at the beginning. He's at the train station.
Very confusing for a second to me.
Yeah. And then it clicks. But he's at the train station. He has a last-minute panic, goes for the other train, goes to Montauk.
Yeah.
It's not just a recreation. It's the same shots.
It's literally, for sure.
And then they meet again and do the whole thing again. And the movie picks back up where he's dropping her off at her apartment to go get a toothbrush and stuff.
Yep, and she does.
The same place where Elijah Wood, Patrick, knocks on the window and says, "Can I help you?"
Yep, and that happens again, right?
Yeah, because what you're realizing is that the scenes you saw at the beginning of the movie are the end of the movie.
Yes. Yes, it all comes back around.
This whole relationship that you've seen up between them is their second relationship.
Yes, the meeting on the train, after Montauk, all of it. Spending that night at her house when she asks, he's like, I'm going to marry you, all of that.
They've already had a full year-long relationship and broken up and erased each other's memories and then met again on the train to Montauk.
God, that's so fucked up, dude.
And when she goes into her apartment, there's a tape and a document, and she brings it to the car and they listen to it together, and they are both freaking out.
Yes.
In very different ways. Because she's hearing her own voice say things she never said.
Yeah, and he's hearing things about him that are not great.
Yeah. And he freaks out, tells her to get out of the car, goes home, and at his home, he's got a tape waiting for him. And he's listening to his tape, and then she comes to his house because she needs to keep talking to him.
Yeah.
And there's this extremely powerful scene where they both understand now sort of like what happened.
Yeah.
And they're both processing that it happened
at like the same time.
While the tape is playing.
Yeah, and he's really digging in on her, man.
Yeah, the tape is saying things like she's so insecure. What's with the hair color? It's so fake.
Yeah, she gets people to like them by fucking them. I mean, like, or like
she's
her.
So impulsive. I think it's so stupid. She's such a... Her vocabulary leaves a lot to be desired. She says library instead of library. It's just this guy like listing everything he doesn't like about her. Yeah,
every single thing.
And in the scene, they're both like looking at each other and they're like sheepish, and they're like, it's so raw, and it's a couple laying bare the bedrock truth about their feelings towards each other, and doing it in like real time, and you see these actors like looking at each other while it's playing, And then they want to be with each other anyways.
Yeah, she starts to leave, and he kind of like follows her out the door, and he's like, wait. He said, just wait.
He's like, just for a while.
Just wait for a while. And like they kind of like, she kind of understands, and she says, but, you know, like, I'm going to be impulsive. I'm going to get tired of you. You're going to be boring.
She's like, I'm going to end up feeling like I'm in a cage with you in a boring relationship, and I'm going to go do something crazy. And he just starts to smile, and he says, okay.
Yeah.
And they both have accepted each other for their flaws in that moment. Mm-hmm. Not just the idea of their flaws, like the real flaws.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've lived this before. They're accepting each other's flaws and choosing each other anyways.
Yeah, even if that all comes to fruition, it's still worth it.
It's still worth it. And like, that's what love is.
Oh, that made me so... Yeah, man. It was highly emotional, to say the least. And done so perfectly. I mean, like, that is what it is. That is what love is. You know,
they really get to it.
Yeah.
The messiness of it, the imperfection. There is not a single character portrayed in this movie having a perfect relationship.
Dude, no, it's because a perfect relationship does not exist. That is a fantasy.
Right. Perfect relationships don't exist.
No.
And they're not shown in this movie. And there is a huge theme in this movie about, like, well, obviously it's a movie about memory, but like about the idea that, like, in your memories, you can create like a sense of innocence and perfection that was never real.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our own recalling of memory is horrible. Yeah. You know, you remember how you felt.
Yeah. You know? There's a quote by the secretary in this movie. She says adults are this mess of sadness and phobias, because she's opining about how good it must be to have your bad memories erased. Yeah. She says, she quotes Nietzsche. She's like, blessed are the forgetful. And there's more to it, but that's the essence. Blessed are the forgetful. And it's from a book called Beyond Good and Evil, which I think is also pertinent that they chose that book. But she claims that, like, adults are like this messy bundle of sadness and phobias. But then throughout the movie, you see all of these childhood memories, and they are every bit as complicated and messy and 100%. Dark as the adult memories.
Yeah, it was just your perspective was different.
It's shame.
Yeah.
Humiliation, fear, loneliness. At one point, Clementine says to Joel, I think people don't understand how lonely it is to be a kid. And this comes after the blonde secretary is saying adults are sadness. It's like the innocence of... She's like creating a fantasy memory of what it's like to be a kid, and it's like carefree and joyous and like...
Yeah.
It's a lie.
Yeah.
She's telling herself a lie.
To make it easier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think the fact that she's quoting from Beyond Good and Evil, it's a way for the writer to say that there is no such thing as a bad memory. Right? Like, it's beyond good and evil. It's not... There's no bad...
Yeah, it's just a memory.
Memories form who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can it be bad to exist? You can't erase someone's formative core memories without erasing who they are as a person.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So the idea that you would have a bad memory is the wrong way of looking at it, because life is beyond good and evil. Bad experiences or like traumas are still part of your life story that like got you to where you are.
Yeah, and of course it can be like bad that it happened, but it did happen no matter what the trauma is, you know, and it still built your core identity.
Yeah,
as the person you are now.
I guess there's like, we could probably go on and on for an hour about it, but I think the deeper meaning is that it's hard to say that it is bad that it happened.
Yeah.
Like, people have trauma.
Yes.
And the things that we would say are bad, like from a moral perspective, it's just not that clear that their occurrence is objectively bad if it forms you into the person that then experiences love and happiness. Like, the whole picture of the totality of your life is called into question when you start talking about like the value of love and the meaning of life.
Yeah.
And if you were to try to say like, okay, I wish that my dad never hit me as a kid, and I wish that I didn't have an eating disorder in my teens.
Yeah.
Because those are bad things.
Yeah. But then
I would agree that they're bad things, but it's not so clear to me after watching a movie like this that it's bad that they happened to you. If you end up like meeting the person that you love.
Yes, I would.
And like,
I would say that's,
you know
like,
what I mean?
100%. No, I agree with you if it does end in a generally better outcome than the sort of trauma that triggered your current perspective. I'd say the only time I disagree is if the trauma or whatever, something is so bad that you experience that it does end up eventually like causing you to just kill yourself or something like that. Then I would say that I would argue that that's a bad memory or a bad thing that happened. But I get what you're saying though. It's a really murky.
The film is calling into question the concept of good and evil.
Yeah.
In terms of, and I say this specifically in terms of when you're asking yourself like the meaning of life and like, who am I as a person? The bad stuff is just as important as the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just as foundational to your identity, which is foundational to your ability to like exist and experience emotions. And it just makes it messy and complicated. And obviously we're watching a movie about love, not a movie about suicide.
Yeah, of course.
But, you know, you might have a different take if things don't work out for you. But I think the point is that like you can't just write off quote unquote bad things wholesale.
Yeah.
Life doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And our life paths aren't straight lines from like the, you know.
No, they're certainly not.
Right. Like, I just found that deeply moving. And if you can learn to like revisit or like reform your perspective on your own traumas in a way that allows you to like accept yourself.
Yeah.
And then accept someone else in all of their flaws and traumas. Like, that's so important.
And it's truly beautiful.
Yeah.
Even if it is just for yourself, even if it's without the context of having another person.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful thing to be able to do.
Just to accept yourself.
Yeah. You're not even going to be able to fully accept someone else until you do accept yourself first. You know, like that. I think it kind of has to be sequential like that. So it wouldn't be healthy, you know?
No. And there's like a quote in this movie too, where Clementine is like talking about how she has all this baggage, right? And she's like, I'm just a messed up girl out here trying to look for my own peace of mind. Don't put your shit on me too, because he has his own emo perspective when they meet. He's got a lot of baggage, and he is like thinking that she's gonna fix me. Yeah. He even says that, I think. He's like, I thought you were gonna save my life.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't put your shit on me. Like, I'm trying to figure me out.
Yeah.
And yeah, the truth is that like both of them ended up erasing their memories of each other because they weren't ready to be in love, because they didn't have the full love of themselves yet, because they had not accepted themselves fully. And after that scene with the tapes, I literally just wrote in my notebook in all caps, acceptance.
Acceptance. Yeah, dude.
It's got to be like the main theme of the movie.
Yeah.
From where I'm sitting now, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
And I don't want to like necessarily walk away from this episode like telling our viewers that I don't believe in a moral code. Like, that's not
no,
the takeaway.
Of course. No, not at all.
I don't necessarily believe that morality is subjective. I just think the movie is making a statement about an individual's ability to assess their own life experiences as either good or bad.
Yeah.
And claiming that that's the wrong way of looking at and processing your own life. It should not be processed in terms of good and evil or these are the bad memories. These are the good ones.
Yeah.
It's all you, baby.
And that's so hard to do too, you know? Like I don't know if I've actually ever considered that before. Probably not.
That's why this movie's a 10. Dude.
Yeah, that is why.
That's why.
Yeah, I've certainly always categorized all of my memories into either these are the ones I enjoyed, these are the ones I didn't, therefore good and bad.
Right. You got to combine them together and accept your totality in order to find love.
Yeah, totally.
In order to be lovable.
Yeah. Be loved by yourself even, you know. Yeah.
It's big picture shit. There's like a lot of therapy that's happening in this movie.
Yeah, seriously. Super cool. This is fucking 2005?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Fuck Elijah Wood.
That's what you wrote in your notes? Why did they have to name him Patrick? That's my name.
I don't know.
Now I'm the scumbag that goes and tries to mind rape this guy's memory erased girlfriend.
Did you see that they were even erasing memories for dogs? One lady,
I didn't see
one
that.
lady in the office was holding a box, and it was like literally like it's like Barney or some shit on a dog bowl, and she had a fucking bone, and she was crying. So this is like
she was erasing memories, her memories
of her dog.
They're not erasing dog memories.
Oh, no.
That's a whole different world. I don't think I'd want to
world.
go into a dog's brain.
No. Please, God. Oh, yeah. It's interesting in my notes how, like, when I was first watching the memories of them, it kind of, like, transitions from a rather toxic relationship to, like, just actually wanting them to work out so bad.
Yeah.
You know?
There's something going on in this movie with the color of her hair.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that I have a total read on the deeper layers of that onion, but throughout the movie she does dye her hair. I think we only see it as blue or orange.
We see it in green a couple times.
We see it in green.
Yeah.
And
red.
What were the scenes when it was green? You can't recall. You saw red too?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like racking my brain. I only remembered the blue and orange.
I think that she actually showed each one that she says on the train. That she mentions? Yeah, I think so.
She says they all have different names, and those names are probably important, just like her name is. But it's Blue Ruins.
Mm-hmm. Yellow Fever.
Orange.
Agent Orange.
She names one Agent Orange. Yeah. She doesn't say that there is one named Agent Orange.
Yeah.
There's Red. What's the red?
Red Revenge, maybe, or something like that. Red Rebel? No, I can't remember. Yeah.
But I think the idea is that they either represent the ways that she's feeling at the time, like emotionally, or they represent like phases of her life that she's in at the time.
Yeah.
Because she meets him after they've both had their memories erased, and she's wearing Blue Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
But that means she was wearing Blue Ruin when she got the memories erased, right? Like that whole era is her Blue Ruin phase.
Blue Ruin. Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
But some of the scenes where like they're arguing a lot, her hair is orange.
Yeah, it's the Agent Orange. Yeah.
Yeah, so like
makes sense.
She's attacking.
Yeah.
There's conflict.
Mm-hmm. She uses chemical weapons.
Yeah, she gasses everyone in her community. But so there's like hair color symbolism going on, and I probably need to watch it again or read a critical analysis online.
Yeah, if I were to watch it again, I would certainly pay more attention to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I had seen this once before, but it had been over 10 years, so I was forgetting a lot of things. So it felt like I was watching this maybe for 1.5 times, not like a second. I didn't have like total recall of everything.
This was brand new for me, and it kind of wrecked me just a wee bit. But in not a negative way, you know. It just really made me feel immensely, you know.
I can't overstate the value of this soundtrack.
Oh,
it is so good, and I think it's like rippled into our culture in a lot of ways. Two that I recall concretely, Jay Electronica was like getting famous in 2004, 2005, and he sampled the main like theme of music from this for his, I think it was his breakout song, like Exhibit B.
From like the what is it, credit scene?
Or not the credits running, but it's like a recurring guitar.
Oh, okay, just like a melody
piece.
Yeah,
and they sampled that and did a song. I think it's Exhibit B, and then they did a follow up called Exhibit C with a DJ. I'm blanking.
Yeah.
Funk Flex.
Oh,
Funk Master Flex.
Funk Master Flex. Let's go.
And that's like his best song. And I just think it's really cool that he was sampling this movie.
Yeah.
He's a heady dude, and this is like right up his alley. And then there's also like an emo band that my college roommate used to listen to called Circa Survive. And the lead singer, Anthony Green, is it's a good songwriter. I'm not really big into emo music, but like I respect a lot of that music. And he has a song called Meet Me in Montauk.
See, and I feel like I had heard of that song.
It's a reference to this movie, of course, because that's what she says to Joel when they separate for the last time in the dream. She's like, meet me in Montauk.
Yeah.
And then that's where he goes and meets her again for the second time.
Yeah, I love that.
So I think that's like a breakup album that it's on, but it's the singer saying like, I'm never going to forget you.
Oh.
Right, to his ex.
Yeah.
You can forget me, I'll never forget you. I'm going to meet you in Montauk, and I'll keep coming back to our favorite spots. Heartbreaking.
Dude. God.
A lot of cultural impact, I think, from this movie. I bet if we looked into it, there's like a ton more.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that was, like we said, a perfect movie. Perfect end.
Yeah, I really wouldn't change a thing.
No.
I think it's so tasteful. It's such a compelling narrative.
Yeah, I'm like actually already kind of compelled to watch it again. Not for like a month or so, but I do want to watch it again, like, and just really...
Tomorrow. Next Monday, we'll be back, and we're doing a second viewing of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, shit. But yeah.
Well, thank you all for getting to the end of it with us.
As always.
I'm glad that you stopped and went and watched the movie and came back.
Yeah, you should probably do that for most movies. Or most podcasts.
So you should like and subscribe.
Smash that bell.
Ding my little bell end.
And then thank you for watching Quiet in the Back.
Sometimes you find love by accident on the train. Every now and then you find so much to gain. Then it all comes crashing down and you feel pain. Someone get these memories out of my brain. You deleted me from all your memories. I deleted you, we weren't meant to be. Then I realized it was a huge mistake. Get these fucking doctors out of my head. Patrick, stop stealing my girl. Patrick, you are the creep of this world. Oh Patrick, I'm gonna get you one day, unless you learn some love and self-acceptance. Everything is different, but it feels the same. Things are rearranging all inside of my brain. I just need to hide you from the evil doctors. Please stop having sex in my apartment. I'll meet you in Mars.